An SABC News presentation.
Welcome to Interface here on SABC3. My name is Magwaza-Msibi. Well, campaigning for the national general elections has gained momentum, with political parties going all out to woo you, the voter. The newly formed National Freedom Party will be contesting the general elections for the first time. The IFP, on the other hand, has seen its support eroding gradually since 2004. And for both these parties, KwaZulu-Natal is a contested terrain. So the question we're asking tonight on Interface is, who will emerge as the dominant party after the elections? And we are joined in the studio by the National Freedom Party leader, Magwaza-Msibi. And in our Cape Town studios, we welcome the IFP Secretary General, Nkomo. And as usual, we do take your comments on our Facebook page. It's Interface on SABC3. Or as always, you can tweet me at Magwaza-Msibi. Let's welcome both of you ladies. Thank you so much for joining us here on Interface.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having us as the National Freedom Party. We welcome the opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Well, let's start with the National Freedom Party.
We really appreciate having you.
Thanks, Mam Sibongile. Let's start with the National Freedom Party. What exactly is it that you are offering the electorate that the other parties are not?
Firstly, I want to greet all your viewers at home, and I'm believing that by being here with you and welcoming, being welcomed by them at their homes, I will be able to win their hearts and minds. The National Freedom Party, as we have said, it is a new political party that was formed in 2011. But we have been able to contest the elections, we have been tried and tested, and we are able to gain more than 1.2 million votes.
Yes, that was in the 2011 thing.
Yes.
What are you offering?
What we offer the people of South Africa is a political party that is going to care for them as ordinary citizens. Is the political party that is going to ensure that we lead a clean, a transparent and accountable government. We offer, as the National Freedom Party, we will look into education, because we believe as the National Freedom Party that education is the cornerstone for the well-being of any society. Therefore, we will invest in education. We will offer free, high quality and compulsory education up to the age of 18. We will introduce at primary school the computer lessons, so that when our children passes grade 12, they have computer literacy certificate, but so that it will be easier for them to be employed.
All of this sounds a lot like what the other political parties are offering. What's unique about what you are offering?
It is unique. No political party is offering computer lessons at primary school from primary to high school. No other political party is offering driving as one of the lessons at high schools, so that when children are passing grade 12, they'll be able to have driver's license and they will be able to be employable.
All right. We'll talk about the feasibility of those promises a little later on the show, but let's bring in the Secretary General of the IFP now, Mam Nkomo. What is it that the IFP is offering the electorate?
Firstly, I would like to thank you for having us on your program, and would like to greet the listeners. It is important for us to realize that credibility borders around the many years one has been in politics. The Inkatha Freedom Party has been in politics for many years, for more than 40 years, where actually a lot of the issues have been tried and tested, and they've actually shown that they will work for the people of South Africa, and that whatever we have is something that will assist us. Firstly, all political parties in South Africa, especially the parties that target a lot of the black communities, fish from the same pond. So it may look as if most of our issues are coming or look the same. It's because we fish from the same pond.
Yes, but what are you offering that is unique? What are you offering as the IFP
I am going to that. I am going to that.
We're running out
Firstly,
of time.
we had to go out to the people on a listening campaign, and we listened to what the people of South Africa were saying, and we came out with about 8 different areas. The first area was service delivery, education, and employment, corruption, health, law, land use, law and order, and traditional leadership. Those are the issues which were brought up by our listening campaign. And then we had to look at the solutions to most of the issues which came up. And most of those solutions looked at actually addressing the problem which came up from the people, coming up with the solution, and then coming up with an action as the IFP.
Now let's look at the similarities between what the IFP is offering and what the NFP is offering. Is there any chance from your side as the NFP that you can look at what they have and say, actually, we have a lot in common, why don't we work together, particularly in the province of KwaZulu-Natal?
I'm glad that Mrs. Nkomo has indicated the fact that they've been in government the party has been there for 40 years, and they've been in government in KwaZulu-Natal, and they did not do much for the people on the ground. What we're offering as NFP is the party that will ensure that we consult with the people, we ensure that we do what people want.
But that's exactly what she just said. She said they went on listening tours and they wanted to get what the people were saying, and
they got an opportunity. They were running the government of KwaZulu-Natal. They've been in the national government for 10 years. But what did they do? What is it that they did to the people of South Africa for them to say, indeed, this is what the Inkatha has done, which has changed our life for the better?
I'm going to ask you that question. I'm going to ask you that question now, but I'm asking you, are there any areas that you see potential collaboration between yourselves and the Inkatha Freedom Party, particularly in KZN?
In KwaZulu-Natal, we have sat and looked into that issue as the National Freedom Party, and we said we are not going to talk about the collaboration with other political parties now, but we may talk about that immediately after the elections. That will be indicated by the results of the elections.
All right, Mrs. Nkomo, you had your chance. That's what Mrs. Msibi is saying. You had your chance. You did not do much for the people of KZN in particular.
Surprisingly, Magwaza-Msibi was part of the leadership of the IFP. She was actually even the national chairperson. It means that she's actually casting herself as a person that did not deliver. And actually right now, the IFP, after people like herself have actually left the Inkatha Freedom Party, we are seeing quite a lot of progress that is happening. I'm not surprised that she's bringing that up because she was actually part of the leadership. But then when one looks at the issues which the IFP have done in KwaZulu-Natal, starting with even the 6,000 schools, which Nkosi Buthelezi actually built, versus the 30,000, the 30 schools which were built by the ANC when the IFP built the 6,000, the infrastructure which was put in place. I'm actually shocked that Magwaza-Msibi is talking in this manner because she knows very well what the IFP did in KwaZulu-Natal. Okay, things have been better since you left the IFP.
I doubt that very much because they are not running many municipalities in the province of KwaZulu-Natal where they are strong. They were strong because those people were taken over by the NFP. We are running about 19 municipalities, 17 municipalities, well in conjunction with the ANC. But I'm very happy with the progress that we have made as the National Freedom Party since the establishment of our party. And she knows better that when I was the chairperson of the IFP, what work did I do as the mayor of Zululand?
But she makes a good point, though. She says the lack of progress that you are mentioning, you were actually part of the leadership of the IFP at the time when the IFP was in government. So you should have actually
You remember here there are 3 levels of government. I was in local government, and the Inkatha, the leadership of the Inkatha was at a provincial government and national government. When you're talking about the local government and the work that was ever done by the IFP, surely they are proud that I was the mayor at the time when I was the national chairperson of the IFP because of the track record and the services that I rendered to the people of that particular district when I was the mayor.
Okay, we've got to take a short break. When we come back, we want to look at tolerance, particularly in KZN, around election time. So do give us your thoughts. It's Interface on SABC 3, or you can tweet me at Tembisa Magele. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Interface, and we are talking to Sibongile Nkomo, who is the Secretary General of the Inkatha Freedom Party, and she is in our Cape Town studios. And also in our Johannesburg studios, we're joined by Zanele Magwaza-Msibi, who is the leader of the National Freedom Party. Now, looking at what is at the heart of the clashes between the IFP and the NFP, we've been hearing about escalating violence between the two, particularly in the lead up to the elections. What, in your view, is at the heart of this?
It is so sad and very painful that 20 years after we have attained democracy, there are clashes like this in different political parties. As the NFP, we believe in peace, we believe in tranquility, we believe that we don't need to see the resurgence of violence, especially in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, mainly because of the gloomy picture or gloomy history that we're coming from as the province. Because you remember in 1980s and 90s, there were more than 20,000 people who died between the IFP and the ANC during that time. I think what is important is that some of the people don't understand the essence of democracy. The essence of democracy is that people should be allowed to choose parties of their own choices. People should be allowed to associate themselves with any political party. But I think what is there is that people are still protecting their own territory, thinking that this is my area. I don't want other political parties to enter into that area.
But what are you doing within the NFP then to try and bring the kind of tolerance that you're talking about?
You know, since the formation of our party, we have lost 29 members. In Wamashu Hostel, where we are having by-elections today and tomorrow, we have lost 9 leaders of our party. But all what we are saying to our people is that the people should be allowed to belong to any political party, and we're teaching our members political tolerance. We are teaching our members to accept one another, to know that besides politics, we are all human beings. We have to accept each other because we have families that we need to take care of, and we don't need to kill each other for us to ensure that our parties are entrenched.
So in practical terms, how are you teaching the members? What are you doing?
That is what we're speaking to them. We are calling rallies, we are speaking to them, and we teach them practically in their own areas that they have to work together. You know, in the areas like Ulundi, for instance, and in Nongoma, before the born of the National Freedom Party, it was not possible for other political parties to go and campaign there. But since the formation of the National Freedom Party, because we are a party that believes in peace, there is tolerance. We are able to work together. We are able to campaign in the same areas.
Okay, Mrs. Ngoma, what is at the heart of this violence for you as the IFP?
I think before I answer that question, I would like to address the issue of the municipalities. The municipalities in KwaZulu-Natal, of course, the ANC went into a coalition with the NFP. That is why they actually took a lot of the municipalities, which were IFP-deserving municipalities, over. And then they took over those over their coalition. So it's not a matter of saying the NFP actually won flat out and they got those municipalities. It was due to the coalition.
The point is, the IFP is not running those municipalities. You lost those municipalities. But on the issue of violence, can you tell us what you think is at the heart of that?
I was still addressing the issue of the municipalities. It was due to the coalition between the ANC and the NFP. And then on the issue of violence, when it comes to the issue of violence in KwaZulu-Natal as well as in the whole country, the IFP is actually signatories to a lot of the agreements that are stating that we do not accept violence and that wherever violence raises its ugly head, people should be arrested. When it comes to the 20,000 people, I'm happy that the president of the NFP actually remembers that. 20,000 people actually died between the wars that were said to be the war between the ANC and the IFP. But then it's surprising that President Mbeki once mentioned that within those wars, there were people who were seen to be going to e.g. ANC areas, wearing IFP gear, but they were not speaking a language of this country. So it means that the third party or the third force was also influential. But right now, we are seeing areas where they may be areas where we are seeing people still rearing their ugly heads as far as fighting is concerned. And we are saying to the police, go in and arrest those people. We have lost several people as well in the hostels in KwaZulu-Natal. Let's take, for instance, one councillor of the NFP actually shot one of our persons, one of our IFP members,
the violence
outside
is definitely
a magistrate
on both sides. But let me ask you this. Does it bother you as the IFP that you seem to be the common denominator in this violence? First it was IFP-ANC, now it's IFP-NFP. Does it bother you?
Actually, you are saying we are the common denominator. We are not. Corruption as well as criminal activity happens anyway, just like it's happening in Beggersdal. So what I'm trying to say here is that, for instance, a few weeks back, we had a meeting after our president, Nkosi Mangosuthu Buthelezi, wrote a letter to the very chairperson, to the president that's sitting next to you, the president of the NFP, asking her to come with a delegation so that we address matters of violence in the areas. We met with a delegation from the NFP and we discussed those matters because the IFP is a peace-loving party. That is why I disagree with you when you go on to say it is a denominator, because most of the parties, wherever people are, you will find that people come and hide within yourselves. They can hide within the NFP, they can hide within the IFP, they can hide within the ANC and actually do criminal activities.
All right.
We are saying to the people of South Africa, peace must reign, and that all the laws of the country should be adhered to. That's why we're signatories to all the peace initiatives in this country.
Okay, let's get back to what you are promising on your manifestos, both the NFP and the IFP. Let's look at education. You have already talked about the schools that you want to build. The fiscus gives education the biggest chunk every year, which means that the money that is allocated is as much as can be allocated to education. But what is it that you think you can do differently to use that money better?
I think that the money that is allocated to schools, it may not be necessarily sufficient, because in most of the areas we find that schools are not built. There are children who are receiving their education under dilapidated conditions. And I think it is important that when you offer money to schools, it is used correctly. For instance, we have to ensure that the classrooms are built. You have to ensure that there are laboratories. You have to ensure that there are libraries. And we have to ensure that you attract and retain fully qualified educators and retain them, more especially in rural areas, and ensure that you offer lucrative incentives to retain them in those schools. And we also have to ensure, as NFP, if we are elected into government, we will also ensure that we are biased towards maths and science, so that we'll be able to produce people who will be able to get skills.
But is that not what the current
employable.
government is also running on? Is that not the same ticket that the ANC is running on?
Yes, it's the same ticket, but what is different is whether those policies are implemented on the ground, because policies are policies, but implementation of the policies is what is lacking in the current government.
How would you make sure, as the IFP, Mrs. Ngomo, that you take education in particular to the next level in this country, bearing in mind the fiscal constraints that we have in terms of budget?
Let's start with the fiscal constraints. We will always have money that is there, that is allocated to the different ministries, but that money will never be enough. The issue here is that we need to ensure that we deliver when it comes to education, because it's about our children. We need to ensure that when it comes to the building of schools, schools have got water, they've got libraries, we've got classrooms, we've got teachers who are able to teach. We don't have teachers who are able to go out and go on even SADU campaigns or even union campaigns. We need to ensure that we concentrate on the quality of learning rather than the quantity. A system that is happening today where you find that matric students that are qualifying with about 30% of learning, where they can't even read and write. That is not acceptable. We would like to see quality coming out. We would like to see our children being skilled before they actually come out of their schools, so that when they come out, they can go onto the job market, they can even start their own businesses, they can go onto colleges and universities. It is important as well to bring in the parents onto this matter, because the parents are the primary teachers of our children. We should not take away parenting away from teaching.
All right, we're taking another short break. That was the Secretary General of the IFP, Sibongile Nkomo, rallying for your vote, and also the leader of the NFP, Zanele Magwaza-Msibi. And we are taking your thoughts on our Facebook page. It's Interface on SABC3, or on Twitter at Tembisa Machele. So let's have a quick look at some of your Facebook messages. Tulani Makubu says, tell us about previous successful projects that people have benefited from and what feasibility plans there are for the future. That's for both parties. And Sampi William Vilagazi says there should be political tolerance and respect between the parties. We can't afford to see innocent lives being taken away every time there are elections in KZN. And let's also take Malin Northman, who says tolerance and respect are of utmost importance. And I think we all agree on that. But just looking at the support of the IFP, Mrs. Nkomo, the IFP has been losing ground over the years. I mean, from 1994, where you had 43 seats in Parliament, to now 28 seats after the 2004 elections. What do you think is causing you to lose as much ground as you have been?
Thank you very much for that inquiry. Actually, when one looks at all the political parties in our country, we discover that there has been a drop in the membership. I think the only party where we've seen just a slight rise is the DA. Last month, the ANC-NEC met, and it was actually stated in the newspaper that the NEC of the ANC is meeting, and one of the major areas which they are going to be discussing is actually the membership, which has dropped drastically. So yes, the IFP membership may have dropped, but it's seen everywhere else, even with statistics that are coming out in the papers. Most of the political parties are actually coming down, which is a problem to most political parties.
Your response doesn't help us understand what it is that is of concern to you that makes these decreases happen.
What is of concern to us is that, firstly, we fish from the same pond. The ANC, the IFP, and most of the black parties. And most of the people that are not voting are actually the major problem. They are not voting because they are disappointed in the service delivery, as well as most of the areas where service delivery is not catered for them. They are simply sitting back with their votes. So we are getting punished with the rest of the people of the country, or with the rest of the political parties. That is one of the main reasons.
Okay, NFP, you had quite a number of seats, quite a number of votes in the 2011 elections. You had 1.2 million votes. Has your support decreased since then?
I'm very happy that you are asking that question, because indeed our party has been growing quite rapidly in all provinces, because the party is not only confined in the province of KwaZulu-Natal against what people are believing. The party is all over the country, and we have councillors in about 6 provinces in South Africa. And we have been crisscrossing the whole country, trying to, with the support of the people, and the party is growing. We have structures of the party on the ground.
Where would you put your numbers right now?
As the party, we believe in the constituency-based politics. When we talked about this issue as the party, we said we will have to take over the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and we believe we can do that because a lot of people are disgruntled with the level of corruption that is going on in all levels of government under the ANC. And we will, if we fail to take over the province of KwaZulu-Natal, we will definitely be an official opposition. Remember, at a national level, we are the 4th largest political party, and in KwaZulu-Natal, we are the 3rd largest political party.
Where would you put your numbers right now?
Now, in terms of the members, the membership, the last time I checked, that was last year, we had more than 40,000 paid-up members, but we have supporters throughout the country, and we want to get 1.8 million votes in the coming election.
Are you looking to go into any coalitions going forward?
We have not decided on that. We spoke about that as a party. We deliberated on it, and we felt that we are not going to commit ourselves to any coalition with any political party prior to elections. But immediately after elections, we'll talk about that. It will be determined by the results of the elections.
Is the IFP perhaps looking into any sort of coalitions, particularly to try and boost the numbers that you have?
Definitely not, madam. We're not going into any coalitions. The IFP is going alone as the 3 elephants and with our leader. Although I would just like to state that when it comes to coalitions, those are things that are usually discussed later, but the IFP is not going into that. I would just like to state on the issue of party growth. We have won quite a lot of by-elections, which has actually shown that our growth is also something that has been happening. And when it comes to issues of tolerance, as has been stated by some of the listeners, it is important for us as political parties to ensure that we educate our members on political tolerance, that we educate our members that it is critical for us to ensure that peace prevails in our country.
I just want to sneak one in. I know that we're out of time, but the whole issue of the stereotypes around women and you being women leaders, we can't let you go without asking you that. And we recently celebrated International Women's Day. The inequalities that exist, particularly because of patriarchy in the system that is very alive and very real. We heard that in the T-section hostel of Umlazi, women, for example, are not allowed to wear pants. Is that something that you're addressing at all in the way that you're wooing your voters?
Yes, we are. It is a matter of concern that there is still patriarchy in most of the areas, more especially in rural areas. But we are addressing that. I'm very worried about also the violence that is meted against women who are up-and-coming leaders in different political parties. You know that in KwaZulu, for instance, we have buried 2 women leaders in that particular area. When men have the audacity of going and killing women because they are up-and-coming leaders. But in terms of women taking up positions as leaders in decision-making bodies, we are still lacking as a country because I think we have about 28%. I think we need more women.
So that's something you're definitely looking into. Are you looking into that, IFP?
We have actually been doing that over years, well before '94, when the Inkatha Freedom Party, under the leadership of Inkosi Buthelezi, actually started putting women into positions. We had the Deputy Minister of Health then and everybody else.
Okay.
Even up to today, we're still doing that. Although generally as a country, we are doing quite well, but we can do more.
We can do better. We're going to have to leave it at that.
Oh, yes.
We're going to have to leave it at that. I'm going to get into trouble. The issue of wearing trousers, let's pick that up on Twitter. It's at Tembisa Magwaza-Msibi, or on Facebook,
okay, we'll do
Interface on SABC3. We have to leave it there. Good night.
Thank you.